This is 7th grade lesson 20 in module 6, solving real-world area problems. So we have here a triangle, we have other types of polygons that we'll be using. But basically, if you remember from 6th grade, area equals your length times your width. Now, of course, when we're dealing with triangles, that's a little different. So since triangles are half of a rectangle, we're going to say area equals half the base times the height. So this will be half 10 times 7.5. All right, and 7.5 times 10 is going to be 75. When you multiply by a fraction, you're actually dividing. So we're just going to say 75 divided by 2, and that gives us our final answer of 37.5. Now, since there are no stated measurements here, such as inches or centimeters, we're just going to write units squared. All right, let's look at this one here. Now, you can solve this one using the area triangle formula, or you can use the length times width, either one. Technically, this is a four-sided figure. They drew this down here to give you the height of the four-sided figure, or you could say the width, whichever you prefer. I'm just going to go ahead and do length times width, which would be 12 times 9, equaling 108 units squared. And remember, area is always squared, and that's because we're talking about 2 dimensions. Here we have a hexagon, which has 6 sides, and we need to find the area of this whole hexagon. Well, if we find the area of just this triangle, we can then times it by 6 to find out all of them, because technically I can make 6 triangles out of this one hexagon. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So let's go ahead and find the area of that triangle first. So we're going to say area equals base times height. So half of 6 times 5.2. And that's going to give me, let's see, just go ahead and pull up my calculator here, kind of help us out. So say 5.2 times 6 gives me 31.2. So we're going to say half of 31.2. So on your calculators, we're going to come up here and just go ahead and divide that by 2. And we get 15.6. Now that's the area of that one triangle. Now since I can technically put 6 triangles in here, I'm just going to go ahead and take 15.6 and times it by 6 and give me the final answer of 93.6 units squared. Now this shape over here is a semicircle. Semicircle because technically it's missing its bottom half of the circle. If we were solving for the area of the whole circle, we would say pi r squared. But since this is half a circle, we're going to go area equals half pi r squared. Now this 9 is representing the line going all the way across, and the line going all the way across is called the diameter. I want the radius, which is actually just halfway across. So to find out how big the radius is, I have to divide the 9 by 2, giving me 4.5. So here my radius is going to be 4.5. Now I can plug that into my problem. So I'm going to say half, and I'm going to keep pi as a symbol for right now, times 4.5 squared. All right, now if you're on a calculator, especially on an Apple phone, then you can turn it sideways and get the scientific calculator. So instead of doing 4.5 times 4.5 manually, you can hit this little button over here that's x squared, and it'll do it for you, just to show you some extra features on your phone. So now we have half pi 20.25. Now before I deal with the pi, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this fraction and the 20.25. So I'm going to cut this in half to get rid of that fraction. I'm multiplying by a fraction, is just dividing by 2. So I'm going to come over here and divide this by 2. And I get 10.25 3.125. And now I'm going to multiply that by pi. In 7th grade, we use 3.14. You don't want to use your pi key just yet. Okay, keep it at 3.14. I'm going to come over here and times this by 3.14. And we get this answer. And I'm going to go ahead and round that to 31.8 units squared. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So this is kind of like if you ever hire a landscaper to come in and grass your house, landscape your house with grass kind of thing, okay, obviously your yard. They're going to landscape all this white space needs to be grassed. Okay, so what the person did, the contractor did, is they came in and they made a scaled drawing of the lot, including the house. So the easiest way to do this is to find the area of this whole thing and then subtract out the stuff that's not going to get grassed. So that's part one. Then we have to come back in and talk about cost, which we'll do in just a second. So what I did is I broke this into smaller sections to find the ultimate area of this composite figure a little easier. So I'm going to call this area 1. So in area 1, we have a 4 by 4. It is 4 boxes over, 4 boxes down, which gives me an area of 16. Now back here is this little patio. I'm going to call that area 2. Area 2 is a 1 by 13, which gives me 13. The house itself, I'm going to call 3. And that's a 7 by 13, which is going to give me 91. And then my area 4 is going to be this little patio here. Now I can't go all the way across like I did up here because this sidewalk right here kind of took over some of the area. So this is a 1 by 6, giving me an area of 6. I'm going to say 5 is the actual little sidewalk. And the sidewalk itself is also a 1 by 6. And how I'm getting these numbers is literally just counting the boxes. I'm going to carry this one as area 6, which is also a 1 by 6. And then my final little area is this little piece of something over here. I'm not real sure what that is, but it's a 1 by 2. Now to find out the total, we're going to add all these answers up. So add those all up on your calculator, and you should get 140 units. Now, why is this important? This is important because this is not grass. There is no grass on this area. So all this stuff we just found the area of is going to be what we subtract from the total. So now let's find the total. What is going to get grassed? So let's right here, we have our grass area. Now they told us that this is 100 feet, and I went ahead and just counted the boxes along the side here, which was 20, and there's 18 boxes along the side. So this will give us the area of this whole square. So I'm going to say area equals length times width. So that's 20 times 18, which gives me 360. But I'm not going to put grass inside the house and on the driveway and on this little sidewalk. So I'm going to take that 360 and I'm going to subtract what we found is not going to have grass on it, which is 140, leaving me with 220 inches, or no, excuse me, units. We can just say units at this point. Units squared. Now, someone's backyard is not 220. Oh my goodness, that is super small. All right, so this is a scale drawing, which basically means there are 220 squares here that are white, that did not get shaded. So what I need to do is find out how big the actual backyard is. So if this is a total of 100 feet here, that means these little boxes here are a 5 by 5. And a 5 by 5 is 5 squares. So how big is each box? It's 25 feet. So we're going to say 220 times the 25 feet will give me a total of 5,500 feet squared. That's the actual size of this person's backyard. All right, so we got that far. But now we actually need to find the cost of how much we're going to have to pay. So we're going to look up here and read, it says that you can get a 20-pound bag. That'll cover 420 square feet. It'll cost you $49.98 and you have to include the 8% sales tax. All right, so since I already have 5,500, I'm going to divide this by 420. So I'm just going to grab my calculator real quick here. We're going to say 5,500 divided out by 420, and I get, I'm going to say roughly 13. Now, technically, I would probably buy 14 bags, but it doesn't quite round to 14, so I'm just going to go with 13 bags. Okay, if they're 13 bags, now let's find out how much they are each. So up above, it said that they are $49.98, and I have to add in a sales tax of 8%, which means I multiply by 0.08. So I'm going to grab my calculator here, $49.98 times that sales tax, which means roughly I'm going to add about $4 onto this. So we're going to say $4. Okay, so $49.98 plus $4. Okay, so we're going to take our calculator, $49.98 plus $4. All right, it's going to give me $53.98. Now, that's the cost of each bag. I need 13 bags. So $53.98 times 13 is going to give me a total cost of grass $701.74. And that is my ultimate answer there. So two final answers was the total of the yard and then the total cost of the material. All right, now this one says that the landscape contractor looks at the scale drawing of a yard and estimates the area of the home and the garage as the same as the area of the rectangle, which was 100 times 35. The contractor comes up with 5,500. Was he close on his estimate? Well, I don't think he was close. I think he overestimated the size of this house, because if it's 100 by 35, that's going to give me 3,500 feet squared. If he's saying it's 5,500 feet squared, then the contractor's off and we get to save some money. So then the contractor is off by 2,000 square feet, which will definitely save us some money. All right. All right, this last one here, I wound up doing with the class. So this whole worksheet was done in class. And so you will get credit for just kind of writing it down and having good notes. We are going to find the area of each of these circles. Okay, so if you notice, we have 4 circles. Circle 1, circle 2, circle 3, and circle 4. Okay, should probably do those white ones in a little different color. Let's see, 3 and 1, just to make it stand out a little better. So it says here in the description that the radius of the smallest circle is 3 inches. As they get larger, it increases by 3 inches each time. Each 8-ounce can of paint covers 16 square feet. So is there enough paint to color the targets is basically what we're going to wind up answering. So let's talk about circle 1. Circle 1 has a radius of 3 inches. Now, if you remember, area equals pi r squared. And I'm going to leave pi out of the equation for right now until we get to the end. So I'm just going to say 3 squared, which is going to give me 9. Now 2, my radius will be 3 more than that, so it's 6. 6 squared is going to give me 36. Circle 3 is a radius of 3 more, which is 9. 9 squared is going to give me 81. And then the last listen to me. The last circle is 3 more, which is 12, and 12 squared is 144. All right, so that's just finding somewhat of the area because, of course, I have to calculate it in pi. So now I'm going to go ahead and find out how much paint is needed. So when I say the area is 144, that means this entire thing is 144, all the circle. Well, to find out how much red paint is needed, that means I have to come in here and get rid of all this white. I just need to get rid of all that white space, okay? And this little one in here in the center as well, just leaving me with the red. So what that looks like with math, and I'm going to do this in red. So this is the red paint, is I'm going to take this is red, and that one's red, and the other two are white. I'm going to do 144 minus out the white ring, plus 36 minus out the other white, the inner circle, the white inner circle. And this will leave me with just what's red. So this comes out to 63 plus 27, which is 90. Now you remember I said I left out the pi until the end. So now I'm going to multiply in pi. So I'm going to multiply that by 3.14, and I get 282, and I rounded it to 0.7 inches squared. All right, so in order to find out if we have enough paint, we're going to divide this by the largest area, because of course we need enough paint for the entire thing. So I'm going to say 282.7 divided out by the largest area, and that's going to give me 1.96 about feet squared. All right, now so each can has 8 ounces and it can cover 16 square feet. So well, let's read this up here. It says a can of red paint and a can of white paint purchased at Target. Okay, so each can is 8 ounces and it covers 16 square feet. Is there enough for each color? All right, so the easiest way to do this, instead of saying 8 ounces, is I'm just going to go ahead and multiply out by 10. And that'll give me 19.6 feet squared, just to give me a nice rounded number, because if it's 16 square feet, obviously we're going to need a little bit more than that. So multiplying it out by the square footage of that is just easier to say times 10. And that's okay for me in this class. I didn't want to get too nitty-picky with that. Now let's solve for the white paint. Now again, the white, we don't even have to include this one because that one's red. So we're just going to say 81 minus that 36, that red there. So this is white minus red, plus the other white, which is 9. Now since this inner circle here did not have a red ring in it, we don't have to subtract anything from it. So this gives me 45 plus 9, which gives me 54. We're going to take that 54, multiply it by pi, and I get 169.6 inches squared. And I'm just going to do the same operation I did over here with the red. I'm going to take this and divide it by the largest amount of area I have, which is 144. And that's going to give me roughly 1.18. Multiply that by 10, and I get 11.8 feet squared. So ultimately, if I added this all together, I didn't do this part with you guys in class, but just to kind of sum this all up, if I added this all together, let me kind of clean up my calculator a little bit here, get rid of some of that writing. There we go. I could say 19.6 plus 11.8 is 31.4. And if I divide that by 16 square feet, again, I come back to that 1.96. Times that by 8 ounces, you're looking at 15.7 ounces of paint needed to do this job. All right, but we didn't have to go that far, and I didn't take it that far. I was good if we just found out how much square footage was needed for paint. So that ends this tutorial.